It is Monday, Vov Oder Aleph Tovshin Ayin Test. We are in Teres Menachem Sefer Mamarim Tovshin Yud Gimel. In the Mamar Yud Bestamos Tovshin Yud Gimel. Dibra Maschel Man Daas. We are on page Kuf Tzadik Tes at the very top. Ois Yud Aleph chapter 11. The Rebbe explained the idea of Havaya Huho Elikim, that Hashem's name Yud Kei Vav Kei, and that which it represents, the revealing force, the unlimited force, is one with Elikim, Hashem's withholding force, regulating force, concealing force, limiting force. The Rebbe explained also these two ideas in Avodas Hashem, in man's service of Hashem, that Elikim in man's service of Hashem is serving Hashem in a limited way based on rationality, and Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, in man's service of Hashem is serving Hashem beyond rationality. Each of these have a specific mode of service. Elikim being Avodas Habirurim, serving Hashem through refinement, where we engage with our environment, with the material world, which has a prescribed formula, as is denoted in Shulchan Aruch, in the Code of Jewish Law. So that is limited, that is confined, as it were. And then you have the unlimited way of serving Hashem, which is the idea of Avodas HaNisyonos, serving Hashem through tests. The Rebbe had a whole discussion about the test of the Akedah and so on and so forth, and explaining that through tests, what is revealed is the Yechidah Nefesh, the very essence of the soul, which is beyond all limits. Now we come to the idea of Ein Oid. The verse stated, Leman Daas, Kol Amei Ha'oretz, Ki Havaya Hu Elikim, Ein Oid, there is none else. And the Rebbe asked, if Havaya is Elikim, then what's the addition of Ein Oid? Right? The very beginning of the Mamar, or actually it was later on when the Rebbe was explaining right, in chapter 8, on the bottom of page Kuf Tzadik Dalet, top of page Kuf Tzadik Hey, he said, once we know that Havaya Hu Elikim, that Havaya is Elikim, they are one, in all levels of Bashamayim, Bashamayim Emal, Al-Aretz, Al-Aretz Mitachas, what's the addition when he says Ein Oid? So here the Rebbe begins to explain this in terms of Avodas Hashem. What we accomplish through Avodas Hashem, serving Hashem, and how that brings about the idea of Ein Oid. Chapter 11, Ois Yud Aleph, page Kuf Tzadik Tes. V'hinei al yidei ha'avodah shemitzad b'chinas ha'yechidah shebenefesh, through serving Hashem. From the point of view, in other words, at the level of Yechidah shebenefesh, the very essence of the soul, misgala, which is revealed how? Through serving Hashem, through nisyonos, through tests. Misgala ha'inyan ve'ein oid. The concept, the level of Ein Oid, that there is nothing else, is revealed through this avodah, through this mode of serving Hashem. What is Ein Oid? Ein Oid is b'chinas ha'atzmus, the aspect of Hashem's very essence, shelamayla gamei olam esoyinsof shelifnei atzilus, which are even beyond the unlimited worlds that precede the world of emanation, atzilus. If you remember, the verse states the other pasuk that has similar language, which the Rebbe brought in the Mamar. Similar language to the pasuk of the Mandas, but it adds Bashamayim mimal v'ala'oretz mitochas ein oid. And the Rebbe explains Shamayim is a reference to Atzilus, the world of emanation. Bashamayim mimal is a reference to the realms that are beyond Atzilus, the Olam Esof, the unlimited worlds that precede the world of emanation. Oretz is a reference to Elam Isbiyah, Bri, Yitzira, Asiyah, the worlds of creation, formation, and action. And Oretz Mitachas is a reference to Klippus, those things that oppose Kedusha. What's the highest level that is denoted in Bashamayim Imal V'Oretz Mitachas? The unlimited worlds that precede Atzilus. Ein Eid is a reference to something which is even beyond that. What is that? The very essence of Hashem. And that is revealed through serving Hashem through tests, by withstanding tests. Shemitzad zeh, because of which, in other words, because of, as a result of, or because of the very essence of Hashem, naaseh ha'inyan d'havayu elikim, then the concept of Havaya hu elikim, that Havaya and elikim is one, comes about leirak be'efin shel eskalus beis inyanim, not only in a manner that there are two distinct aspects, elements that come together as one. In other words, not only that Havaya as the unlimited force and elikim as the limited force come together as one, but it actually comes about in such a way that they're actually all one and the same. Kanal Sivches, as explained earlier in chapter 8, if you remember, that I've explained that when we talk about the level of the very essence of Hashem, where over there it's in a state of potential, revealing and concealing is in a state of potential, at the level of potential, they're one and the same. It's potential. He has the ability for everything, including limited and unlimited. So in what state does it exist there, as it were? As one. Totally as one. Totally one. To such an extent that all the names, Havaya, the distinct name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the distinct name of Elikim, at that level are one name, Shmei HaGodel, Hashem's great name. That's the level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, the highest level, where Yud Kei Vav Kei actually is a name, so to speak, to identify or to refer to the very essence of Hashem. At that level, the giving force and the withholding force are actually one. And the Rebbe explains this. In the mode of serving Hashem based on rationality, there are a number of ways. However, there is also the concept of merging, where each one of these modes merge one with another, or include one another, or are subsumed by one another. Al derech shematzinu, and the Rebbe explains this. For example, we find concerning Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, the house of Shammai and the house of Hillel. We know that in the Talmud, one of the most famous schools in the Talmud that constantly have varying opinions, difference of opinions, are the school of Beis Shammai, the school of Shammai, and the school of Hillel. Right? Shammai usually is more strict. Hillel is usually more lenient. Chassidus explains this because Shammai's neshama, soul, is from Gvura, from Midas Gvura, right? The attributes of Gvura, that's where they're rooted. So therefore, it manifests itself that they usually are strict in their rulings. And Hillel, Beis Hillel, is from the midah of Chesed, Tzviras HaChesed, the attribute of Chesed, of kindness, of giving. So therefore, it manifests itself that the rulings are usually more lenient. So we find, though, although generally Beis Shammai is more strict and Beis Hillel is more lenient, because of the fact that the lines or the modes of their souls are included one from another. In other words, as we know, the divine attributes, there's Gvura in Chesed and Chesed in Gvura, right? So therefore we also find there are a number of rulings, of situations in which the roles are reversed. Beis Shammai is more lenient and Beis Hillel is more strict. Why is that? Because in the divine attributes from where their souls emanate, there is inclusion. Meaning to say that each of the attributes also has elements of the other attributes. So Chesed has elements of Gvura, and Gvura has elements of Chesed. So this is concerning the souls of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel as an example. So too concerning the service of Hashem of each individual Jew, certainly even more so when we talk about the righteous, the leaders of the generation. That what? That they may have a general line in which their service of Hashem expresses itself, but yet they also incorporate within them elements of other aspects, even opposite aspects of serving Hashem, right? But that is when we talk about a distinct chesed and a distinct gvura, and you say, okay, they're not limited only to chesed, they also have elements of gvura, or vice versa. However, there's a higher level, amnam. When there is the idea of a test, then the service, serving Hashem at that level is a much higher level. You don't serve Hashem from the point of view at a level of a specific attribute, as it were, a specific manifestation of the soul, a specific faculty of the soul. Rather, when one faces a test, one serves Hashem at the level of Yechidah, the very essence of the soul, beyond all manifestations, beyond all revelations of specific modes. Up until to the extent where we talk about where it reaches the very essence above Hashem, from at that level there is nothing else besides Hashem. And when one serves Hashem at that level, serving Hashem at this level is not only in a manner that different delineated levels are made include one another, and therefore, even though I'm in one mode generally, I can also activate another mode. No, at that level, at that level of serving Hashem, there are actually no distinct levels. It's beyond it all. Therefore, it is also possible to have self-sacrifice, also in order to don tefillin, or not to pass over the time, the allotted time, the deadline of reciting the Shema, and even on shoelaces. I'll explain that in a second. Even though it's not a time when there is a decree of Shmad, I'll explain that in a second as well. It's only himself, and there's and it's not public. Because so far, from the point of view of the revelation, of the very essence of the soul, it's all one. Whether it's the lightest mitzvah or the harshest mitzvah, it's all equal. Just as it is from the point of view of the very essence of Hashem, that there is nothing else. From this point of view, from at that level, Havaya and Elikim are all one. Let me just explain this idea of Arkas and the Messiah. I'll read you a Talmud very quickly before we start davening from Sanhedrin. It talks about the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. There are three mitzvahs a person needs to give his life for. Avodah Zorah, Gilerais, and Shvichas Domim, right? Idolatry, adultery, and murder. Ki Osara Avdimi, when Avdimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, he said, that Rabbi Yonason said, that the sages taught that one is permitted to transgress prohibitions in the face of mortal danger only when it is not a time of religious persecution. But in the time of religious persecution, that's Gzeres Hashmad. Right? When the Gentile authorities are trying to force Jews to violate their religion, even if they issued a decree about a minor mitzvah, one must be killed and not transgress. So the fact that you only have to give your life for those three harsh prohibitions of idolatry, adultery, and spilling blood is only not in the time of religious persecution. In the time of religious persecution, you have to give your life for everything. When Rovin came from Eretz Yisrael to Babylonia, he said that Rabbi Yonason said, even when it is not a time of religious persecution, the sages said that one is permitted to transgress a prohibition in the face of mortal danger only when he was ordered to do so in private. But if he was ordered to commit a transgression in public, even if they threaten him with death, if he does not transgress a minor mitzvah, he must be killed and not transgress. right? The Gemara goes on and says, right? The Gemara goes on and says, here we go. Even a minor mitzvah. What's a minor mitzvah? Rav Barisach says that Rav says what a minor mitzvah is, even to change the straps of a sandal. There was a Jewish custom with regard to sandal straps. If the Gentile authorities were to decree that Jews must change their practice and wear sandal straps like those worn by the Gentiles, one would be obligated to give up his life rather than to veer from the accepted custom. When it's bifarhesia in public or it's in a time of shmad, of religious persecution. So what does that mean? That when you serve Hashem, the Rebbe brings this all to say that when you serve Hashem at the level of Yechidah, of the very essence of the soul, emanating from tests, then it makes no difference what the test is, whether it's the harshest mitzvah, whether it's a issue of changing the straps on the sandals to do it in the non-Jewish way, and so on and so forth. Why? Because when you operate at the level of Yechidah, of the very essence of the soul, it's all one and the same. It's not two separate things that are combined together. It's all one and the same. Why? That's a result from the tests, because we access the very essence of the soul, which accesses the very essence of Hashem, which is beyond everything.